is just repeating what is in international law regarding the International Criminal Court, saying that there is a 12-month delay period before the actual investigation goes through, and that the Security Council has the power to basically suspend the investigation or the prosecution at any time if it deems it better for international peace and security to do so. But this was a sticking point, the International Criminal Court referral. China, in particular, was a bit resistant to going along with this. In the end, they came along and were swayed. Listen to what the ambassador had to say.
China is very much concerned about the turbulent situation in Libya. In our view, a matter of the greatest urgency is to cease immediately the violence, avoid further bloodshed and civilian casualties, and to restore as soon as possible stability and normal order, and to resolve the current crisis through peaceful means such as dialogue. In this process, the safety and interests of the foreign nationals in Libya must be assured, taking into consideration the very special situation in Libya at this time and the concerns and views of the Arab and African countries. The Chinese delegation voted in favor of the resolution 1970 just adopted by the Security Council.
Of course, the UN Secretary General also spoke about the strong message that was being sent by the Security Council action.
The actions taken by the regime in Libya are clear-cut violations of all norms governing international behavior and serious transgressions of international human rights and humanitarian law. They are unacceptable. It is of great importance that the Council, in response, has reached a consensus and is determined to uphold its responsibilities for the maintenance of international peace and security. The sanctions you have imposed are a necessary step to speed the transition to a new system of governance that will have the consent and participation of the people. In the days ahead, we will look for similarly decisive steps from the UN General Assembly and the international community as a whole. Today's measures are tough. In the coming days, if needed, even bold action may become necessary.
All right, I think we are now sorry, Chris, we'll have to go back actually to the UN Security Council. The Libyan ambassador is speaking. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Message in support of our people. We expect the regime to think about this resolution which has been passed today. We also expect those who are collaborating with the regime to take a position and side by the Libyan people. These are preliminary measures. I hope that these measures will help ending the tragedy which our people are facing right now. Thank you.
Ambassador, in the Council you raised the 1996 prison incident.
Yes.
And it was only this week that the mission and diplomats around the world like yourself began to abandon the regime. Can you describe what it's been like working as an agent of the regime since 1996 till this day?
Well, in 1996, there was 1,270 prisoners in Abu Slim prison. I think the prisoners protested about the condition in the prison. So the regime has decided to eliminate all of them. We really don't know the details on how they did it, but it is sure that in a few hours they eliminated 1,270 prisoners. Until this moment, the families of the victims don't know the whereabouts of the bodies of these prisoners.
But what made you break now and not 1996?
No, I don't break. Even now, I don't break. I am a diplomat. You know, I am a career diplomat in the foreign affairs. So I just spoke out I don't have a special relation with Colonel Gaddafi or with his entourage in any way. You know, career diplomats usually transferred from an embassy to another, and then they came back to the foreign minister for a certain time and then go to another embassy. And this is a routine position for the diplomats. And at this stage, I mean, I am not nominated by Colonel Gaddafi or whoever sides with him. It happened to be the most senior diplomat here to be the deputy permanent representative. This is not a post for us. It is just, it is a post taken by the higher diplomat in the mission. So it doesn't need a decision by Colonel Gaddafi or the Minister for Foreign Affairs or something. So that's why me and my colleagues, we just said that we are siding with the people. And we didn't resign because, I mean, there is no authority. First, we don't recognize the authority of Gaddafi now. And also, there is no authority who nominated us in this post to say, no, well, we resigned from our posts.
هل توجد حصيلة لديكم عن عدد الضحايا في الأحداث التي بدأت منذ 15 فبراير حتى الآن؟
عدد الضحايا في المنطقة الشرقية سيتم إحصاؤه وسيتم التحقق منه خلال الأيام القادمة، وأعتقد أنه يتجاوز 2000 قتيل. في المناطق الغربية للأسف هناك صعوبات كبيرة لمعرفة عدد القتلى وخاصة في مدينة
My colleagues and I are siding with the people. The words there of Ibrahim Dabbashi, is the Deputy Ambassador to the United Nations for Libya. He's now talking in Arabic about how there will be an investigation into the number of people killed, but he puts the number so far at over 2,000. Let's go back to our correspondent, Kristen Salumi. Kristen, how key was Ibrahim Dabbashi, his impassioned plea that he made in turning things around in the Security Council? I think we will be joining our correspondent later. Let's listen into a little bit more of what Mr. Ambassador Dabbashi is talking about.
The number because they're still counting those who disappeared and also the victims. And in Tripoli, it is difficult to know the number because whenever someone is killed, they come and take the body, and if he is wounded, they took him also, and they also enter the hospitals and take all the windows. So you don't know where they took them, and you cannot count them.
ما الذي يمكن أن يفعله هذا القرار الذي صدر اليوم لوقف عمليات القتل المستمرة والتي سنراها غدا وبعد غد طالما بقى القذافي في السلطة؟ ما الذي يمكن لهذا القرار أن يفعله في رأيك؟
أعتقد أن هذا القرار تحذير واضح لمن يساعدون القذافي في جرائمه. قد يصر القذافي على الاستمرار في هذه الجرائم، ولكن من يعاونونه أعتقد أنهم الآن يعرفون أن محكمة الجنايات الدولية تنتظرهم.
Ibrahim Dabbashi now speaking about the clear warning, as he is putting it right now, that this Security Council resolution is intended to send not only to Gaddafi, as he's saying, but also those surrounding Gaddafi who, in his words, are implicated or involved in the killings of Libyans. And this is in response to a journalist's question who is asking about how this resolution may actually be implemented towards stopping the killings. I think Kristen Salumi is with us now. Kristen, I was asking you about the key role which Ibrahim Dabbashi played in sort of bringing people in the Security Council round to a stronger resolution.
Well, it's been very dramatic in the last week. First, you had Ibrahim Dabbashi, who is speaking now. He's actually the deputy ambassador to the United Nations. And earlier in the week, he turned against Gaddafi and asked the Security Council to hold an emergency meeting to do something to stop the bloodshed. That was the first step, where a statement was issued by the Security Council. Yesterday, the main ambassador of Libya to the United Nations, appeared before the Council, and also begged them to do something to stop the bloodshed. And he described himself as someone who had known Gaddafi since his youth, someone who had looked up to him and seen him as a fighter against oppression, a fighter against colonialism, and now someone who had turned on his own people, someone he compared to Hitler. And it was a very emotional speech in the Security Council. And after it, he and other members of the delegation were in tears. They were hugging each other. They were hugged by other African and Arab delegates. And the message was just impossible to ignore. You know, one of the debates you hear in the Council a lot, and certain delegations here at the United Nations see the Security Council as having a more limited role, one that is to ensure international peace and stability. So situations like what is happening in Libya, while terrible, they argue are internal matters and not the purview of the Security Council to take on. But it's very hard to make that argument when you have members of the country themselves begging for assistance and begging for help. And furthermore, today, when the debate over the International Criminal Court and whether or not that should be a part of this resolution was going on, many delegates told me that a key turning point was when the Council received a letter from the Libyan ambassador asking for the support, claiming his support for the resolution and specifically for the referral to the International Criminal Court. And it was just impossible for many of these delegates to ignore. And they mentioned that in their speeches in the Council, that it was the letter from the Libyan ambassador and the support of Arab and African
Sorry, Chris, I'm going to jump in once again.
Really
Brahim Dabashi, the Deputy UN Ambassador on behalf of Libya, is now speaking again. Let's listen in.
But I don't know what is the number and how they came, but most probably they came as for the living, I mean, for work in Libya or for immigration to Europe. And they have been recruited in Libya, and they took them, trained them, and they just now directed them against the Libyan people.
Should they be prosecuted?
The mercenaries. I mean, this is according to the international law. They have to be. They are, they are criminals somehow, and there are the international law is will take that into consideration. If not, certainly there will be